One thing that's interesting is like I I, my major in college was religious studies. So I know like I've studied a lot about the history and the structure of all the various like churches and whatnot. And I couldn't help but notice that the modern model for how these drugs are being used, which is like you go and sit in a room with one or two other person, you put on a mask, like you literally shut your eyes, okay? Alone in a room with a figure of authority. And they say that if you're doing it a different way, that you're doing it wrong. And then, like you said, like the point that you just said, like, which is like when people are on these drugs, okay, so there's a bunch of terms for the idea that you just described. The one that I use is, and as have found in the literature, is non-specific amplifier. So they amplify just like whatever is inside you or outside you. It's not fixed from person to person, but like whatever vibes a person is on that day, these drugs tend to just turn it up, all of it. And the different ones have different like nuances, but also to your point, what you said is almost word for word the scholarly conclusion of a really dope he was like a I don't know the full word. It was like a pharmacopsychotherapist, some like one of these really long, but he specialized in the study of the behavior of drugs on people and how we can improve the outcomes for people basically. And he wrote this great book. But the like one of the main points of the book is that people use drugs on purpose and for their own reasons, which kind of goes to your point, right? But then also it's like when you're talking about who is introducing these drugs and what is the context that we are using them in, to tie it back, the whole reason I mentioned the religious thing is that to me, I personally kind of see the current model of psychedelic assisted therapy as almost like a secular form of the confession of the church, right? Where like the believer goes in and pours their hearts out and tells all their deepest, darkest stuff to a figure of authority who now it's like you're literally giving, it's just crazy. Like, because from the perspective of the pious person who believes that the church is doing good, it's wonderful. It's a spiritual experience and you're bonding with your I don't know the exact title of the figure who hears the confession, but if you look at it from the outside, it's like, and if you study the history of how the Catholic Church actually like operated, what the confession can be seen as an act of surveillance and of gathering information, you know, and they're putting a spiritual twist on it to make it be almost like your death depends on whether or not you are going to tell me every little thing that you did like right now, which if you look at it structurally, it's very similar to what the CIA would use these drugs to torture and try to get people to confess the truth and stuff. And then like to your point, what's going on right now with therapy could be seen as like a mild form of that for the public. And it's like a way to filter out and just see what they can. And the other way that this is all on point is that a lot of the people who are invested in this are like the big tech bros, like the PayPal mafia guys and all these West Coasters from Stanford who run all these big websites that work with the NSA and the DOD. But all, it's anyway. So I agree with what you said. And I definitely think that's a perspective that people should be looking at this from, but we generally aren't.